You have spent your entire life asking, begging, negotiating with heaven as if God were a merchant who needs to be convinced to look your way. But I need to tell you a truth that will shake the foundations of your soul right now. Nothing has happened to this day because you forgot the main secret. You do not attract what you ask for. You do not attract what you want. You do not attract what you pray for. You attract inevitably, magnetically, irrevocably, that which you feel you already are. And as long as you feel abandoned, as long as you feel like you are struggling, as long as you feel like you are waiting, the entire universe will continue to deliver exactly that to you. More waiting, more struggle, more abandonment, in ever-increasing doses, in ever more exhausting situations. And today, at this exact moment you opened this video, Archangel Michael is standing in front of you, not as a distant figure from an old painting hanging on a church wall, not as a forgotten religious symbol, but as a living force, irritated, indignant at what the enemy has done to your faith. Because while you pray asking, the enemy laughs. While you plead on your knees, the enemy mocks. While you beg for a piece of spiritual bread, the enemy laughs at you in the dark. And do you know why? Because he knows something you have forgotten. He knows that you are the operator of your own consciousness. He knows that within you sleeps a creative power that, if it were to wake up now, would dissolve in 3 days all the scarcity, all the emotional illness, all the loneliness you have been dragging for decades, like a heavy sack on your back. But you were taught to doubt yourself. You were trained to think you were small. You were programmed to ask for crumbs when you should have been claiming the banquet. You were convinced that virtue lies in suffering in silence, in accepting everything as divine will, in never daring to affirm with your mouth what your heart silently knows to be yours by right. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today, in a way you have perhaps never heard anywhere else, on any channel, in any lecture, in any shallow book you bought in the hope of changing something, and which ended up on the shelf without giving you the exact point. Take a deep breath. Put your hand on your chest now, feel your heart beating, because from this line on I am no longer a narrator on your cell phone. I am the reminder your soul has been waiting for years. And what I'm going to teach you is the law of assumption, the most dangerous and most liberating teaching that Neville Goddard left to humanity. So powerful that it was hidden for centuries behind poorly translated verses, behind doctrines that taught you to kneel when you should have been standing up, behind sermons that kept you in the maybe one day line while your life was slipping through the cracks of the years. The law of assumption says one thing that is simple and absolutely devastating to everything you have believed until now. That which you assume to be true about yourself, even against all the evidence of your senses, even against all the logic of the visible world, materializes, not in uncertain months, not in distant years, in waves, in layers, in a bridge of incidents that heaven organizes behind the scenes to deliver to you exactly the state you have settled into. You do not need to convince God. You do not need to beg God. You need to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled. Because you are I Am. And I Am is the name that moves mountains, parts seas, resurrects what seemed dead, and returns what seemed lost forever. But here is the mistake that cancels everything. The mistake that is happening in your life right now, perhaps without you realizing it. You pray in the morning asking for prosperity, and at 3 in the afternoon, when the bill arrives on your phone, you feel a shiver of fear down your spine. You pray asking for a new love, and at night, lying in bed, you feel loneliness weighing like concrete on your chest. You pray for the healing of that family member, and throughout the day you feel anguish when looking at them. And the subconscious, that faithful and dumb servant, does not listen to what you say in the morning for 15 minutes. It obeys what you feel all day long, for the other 23 hours. Because feeling is the secret. It always was. And no one told you this properly. No one explained to you that your sustained emotion is the true prayer, is the true decree. Think for a moment about your routine. You wake up still half asleep, and before even stepping on the cold floor of the room, your mind has already started to calculate what is missing. There is not enough money for the end of the month. There is not enough patience with that child who doesn't listen to you. There is no answer from that exam that has been sitting on the table for 3 days. There is no affection from that person who slept with their back to you. And in these first minutes of the day, you have just recorded within your own field the exact script for the next 24 hours. You are not living the day. You are fulfilling a decree that you yourself issued before breakfast. And this is where science kneels before practical spirituality. Studies on the heart show that it generates a measurable electromagnetic field which extends for meters around your body, passing through walls, reaching those nearby, talking in silence with everything around it. This field changes frequency according to the emotion you sustain, minute by minute. When you feel gratitude, it organizes itself into coherent patterns. When you feel fear, it disorganizes. It enters into chaos. It becomes a confused call that attracts exactly chaos back. And this field talks in real time with everything around you. People, opportunities, and what antiquity called the fourth dimension, the place where events not yet materialized await the exact signal of your frequency to descend to the physical plane. Do you understand the magnitude of what I'm saying? Your heart, at this very second that you hear me, is negotiating with the invisible. It is saying to the universe, deliver to this person more of what they are feeling right now. And if you are feeling tiredness, more tiredness will come. If you are feeling abandonment, more abandonment will accumulate. If you are feeling anger at your life, more reasons for anger will be deposited at your door. But if you dare, even with the bills on the table, even with the relationship shattered, even with the diagnosis hanging on the wall, to feel yourself already supported, already provided for, already healed, the field reorganizes itself entirely, and the bridge of incidents begins to be built, brick by brick, without you needing to move an extra muscle. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. And I need you to listen to me with total attention now, because what I am going to say is no coincidence. You did not open this video by chance. You did not arrive at this page by algorithm. You did not stumble upon this message randomly. There has been something moving inside your chest for weeks, perhaps months, an unrest you cannot name, a feeling that you are about to understand something that has always escaped you, a desire to cry without knowing why when certain words arrive. This discomfort has a name. It is called a calling. And Archangel Michael is not irritated with you. He is irritated by what they tried to do with your faith, by the way the enemy has mocked your prayer, by the way you were convinced that you are small, that it is late, that you do not deserve it, that your family cannot be fixed. But if you are here, it is because some spiritual door has opened, and there is a responsibility that weighs on your shoulders, especially regarding the protection of your family, those who sleep under the same roof as you. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you called How to Know If God Will Save You on Judgment Day. The link is in the description of this video and pinned to the top of the comments. Ordinary people, housewives, app drivers, retirees who are on the verge of emotional collapse, report that after applying what is in this book, they saw debts dissolve. They saw estranged family members return with tears asking for forgiveness. They saw peace return to their home like an afternoon breeze. This content can be removed at any time because what it reveals bothers many people who profit from your spiritual suffering. Click the link now, before this window closes. And if you feel that this message is for you, comment below with just one word, Amen. Now pay attention, because we are going deeper. Most people who try to manifest fail for the same reason. They practice the law of assumption for 15 minutes in the morning, during meditation, during visualized prayer, but spend the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day practicing the opposite law. They spend the entire day repeating, in their silent inner talking, phrases that cancel everything they affirmed during the sacred hour. What a hard life. Nobody values me. It always happens to me. I'm tired of trying. I never have any luck. And each of these phrases is a prayer, a reverse prayer, a negative prayer, with power equal to or greater than the one you made on your knees. Because the subconscious does not distinguish irony, does not distinguish venting, does not distinguish nervous jokes. It only records, repeats, and materializes. Inner talking is the temple where your reality is decided. Not at the church altar, not at the torero, not in the therapist's office, not on the Wednesday night prayer list. It is inside your head, in the silent conversation you keep with yourself all day long about who you are, about what the world is, about what you deserve and what you do not deserve. Neville taught something radical. Change your inner talking, and you change your biography. Keep talking to yourself like a victim, and the universe will continue to deliver tormentors to you. Start talking to yourself like someone supported, someone blessed, someone in whom the I Am dwells with all its strength, and the entire heaven begins to reorganize the pieces of the board silently. And here comes the part that scares people the most, but which is where the key to everything lies. Persistence. Because the subconscious does not change in one night. It has 30, 40, 50 years of programming accumulated in hard layers. It has your mother's voice saying that money is hard to earn and easy to lose. It has your father's voice saying that men don't cry and that feeling is a weakness. It has the teacher's voice saying that you weren't good enough for that subject. It has the voice of that first love who abandoned you without explaining anything. It has the voice of the pastor who said that prosperity is vanity. All of this is recorded in deep layers, and you do not dissolve this in one visualization session. You dissolve this with daily persistence, repeating the new state of consciousness every night, every morning, every interval of the day, until the new becomes more natural than the old. Think of that Brazilian mother. There in Appalachia, there in the interior of Louisiana, there in the outskirts of Chicago, who looks at her teenage son given over to addiction and collapses every night on her pillow, crying, pleading with heaven for him to return. She is praying, yes, but she is at the same time feeding the mental picture of the lost son, the picture of the destroyed son, the picture of the son who cannot be fixed. And she spends the day repeating this to her neighbor, to her sister, to her husband. And every time she tells the story of her son's defeat, she is sculpting that defeat with more force in the field. Imagine if that same mother, with the same intensity of crying, started to occupy mentally at night before sleeping the scene of her son recovered, hugging her in the kitchen, saying, "Mum, I'm back, I'm clean, I'm fine, I'm working." Imagine if she felt the roughness of his beard on her face, if she smelled the coffee she would make for him that morning, if she heard his voice saying, "Thank you for never giving up on me." This is the method. This is the fourth dimension being activated. It is not childish fantasy. It is high-precision spiritual engineering. And here is another uncomfortable truth that few have the courage to say. Many people do not manifest because deep in their subconscious, they cannot feel deserving. The subconscious carries a deep guilt, inherited from a religiosity that taught that suffering is a virtue, that asking is right but receiving is suspicious, that prospering is almost a sin, that laughing too much invites bad luck, and when the universe begins to deliver, the person sabotages it unconsciously. Money appears, and the person spends it in any way on nonsense to return to the known state of lack. Love appears, and the person pushes it away, fights, finds flaws where none exist. Opportunity appears, and the person doubts, postpones, misses the deadline, because deep down they do not feel worthy. And the I Am cannot manifest against the permission you deny yourself. You are the doorman of your own miracle. I want you to feel this now. There is a bed somewhere in America where you sleep every night. It could be a double bed. It could be a simple mattress. It could be a sofa bed in the living room. It doesn't matter the object. It matters that in this bed, in the minutes before you drift off, the most important event of your 24 hours happens, and no one explained this to you. The mystics always knew. The ancient Hebrews called this moment the gate. The Egyptians called it the hour of crossing. Neville called it the alpha wave state, the threshold between wakefulness and sleep, when the conscious mind lowers its guard and the subconscious opens the doors to any impression you plant there, without filter, without revision. And what are you planting there today? Anxiety for the next day? Mental list of problems? Social media scrolling with comparative lives of others? Bad news repeated on a loop? Image of the ex with someone else? Thought of the overdue bill? You are using the most powerful instrument of your existence to self-poison every night. And you wake up in the morning wondering why life doesn't change. Imagine the reprogramming. Imagine if, starting today, you decided to use the last 7 minutes before sleeping as a sacrament. You turn off the light, you turn off the cell phone, you close your eyes, and you occupy in the first person with all 5 senses alive, the scene of the desire already fulfilled. If it is prosperity, You don't see the money from the outside, you feel it in your hands. You hear the voice of the loved one saying, "Now we can breathe deep, love, it worked, we did it." If it is healing, you feel the body light. You walk firmly within the scene. You hear the doctor confused saying, "I can't explain it, but it's gone, the exams are clean." If it is reconciliation, you feel the hug. You feel the tears on your shoulder. You feel the forgiveness materializing like a warm wave in your chest. And you fall asleep inside that scene, not thinking about it as a distant idea, living in it as a present reality. And here I need to interrupt you, because Archangel Michael is leaning in close now, and there is something you need to understand before continuing. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, because there are people who are listening to me now and feel, deep in their chest, a tightness that is not physical. It is a spiritual tightness. It is the recognition of something ancient. It is the soul saying, "This is mine, this is for me, I always knew this, but someone made me forget." If you are feeling this now, it is because there is a mission hanging over your life that goes far beyond you. There is someone in your family, perhaps a child, perhaps a grandchild, perhaps a sibling, who depends on your awakening so that they also wake up. You are the bridge. You are the channel. And the digital book, How to Know If God Will Save You on Judgment Day, was written exactly for people like you who are living this moment of spiritual turning point. The link is pinned in the description below the video and also at the top of the comments. Click before this access is removed, because this information is not welcome everywhere. Comment and I accept if you feel that this is for you now. Let's continue, because up to here I gave you the theory, I gave you the science, I gave you the method in general lines. Now I need to confront you with the most delicate aspect of this entire journey, the time between the decree and the materialization. This interval is where 95% of people give up, and it is where the separation lies between those who manifest and those who die repeating, "I tried, it doesn't work for me." Imagine the following. You spent 3 nights practicing the method with seriousness. You occupied the state of the wish fulfilled. You felt with your heart the reality of what you want. And on the 4th day, you wake up, open the window, look around, and everything is the same. The bill is still overdue with interest accumulating. The phone remains silent. The body continues to ache in the same spot. The spouse remains cold. And then the voice begins. The old voice. The voice of the old subconscious saying, "See, I told you." This is for desperate people. Go back to accepting your luck. And the person goes back to the old dialogue, goes back to the old frequency, and loses everything that was being stitched behind the invisible scenes of the 4th dimension, a few days away from the final delivery. Because you do not see the bridge of incidents being built. It is invisible to the physical eyes. When you decree a new state, the universe needs time to organize the pieces. That meeting that will introduce you to the right person needs them to first change jobs. And their job change depends on a resignation that hasn't happened yet. And that resignation depends on a decision their boss hasn't made yet. All of this is orchestrated in absolute silence. And while this happens, in your visible reality, it seems that nothing is moving. But everything is moving. The 4th dimension is a gigantic loom, weaving your new reality thread by thread, and you need persistence so as not to pull the fabric before the time. What makes most people give up is not a lack of faith. It is an excess of checking. It is looking at the bank account every day, waiting for the miracle to drop. It is checking WhatsApp every 3 minutes, waiting for their message. It is running to the mirror to see if the symptom has disappeared from the skin. Each of these checks is an unconscious declaration. I still don't have it. And while you declare I still don't have it, heaven responds with sad patience. All right then, continue not having it. The secret is to live inside the state and not check if it has arrived yet. You know it will arrive. Just as you know the sun will rise tomorrow, you don't wake up at 4 in the morning desperate checking if the sun will rise. You trust. You sleep in peace. And the sun rises without needing your supervision. Manifesting is exactly the same principle. And here I want to speak directly to that man or that woman of 45, 55, 60 years old who is listening to me now thinking, "But I have already tried so many things in life. I have taken expensive courses. I have read books. I have gone through therapy and nothing ever really worked. I ask you to stop for a moment and consider a possibility that can change everything. Perhaps nothing worked because no one taught you the exact point of the technique. No one told you that feeling is the secret and not the word. No one told you that inner talking cancels conscious prayer when it contradicts it. No one taught you to use the border of sleep as a sacred portal. You did not fail. You were misinformed. And today, you are receiving the correct information. And correct information, finding a willing soul, generates a revolution in 7 days. Think of that retiree who lost his wife after 40 years together and thought life was over. Think of that woman who raised 3 children alone, working double shifts, and now feels forgotten in the corner of her house. Think of that businessman who went bankrupt twice and swears he has no strength left for a 3rd attempt. Think of that widow who feels that love is no longer possible, that her time has passed. For all of them, and for you, the law of assumption is a real promise. As long as you breathe, your I am is intact. It does not age with the body. It does not fail with memory. It does not have an expiration date. What ages is the shell. But inside you, the creative spark is lit, waiting for you to stop asking and start assuming. And do you know what is the greatest proof that you are powerful? It is that everything you have today, including what you didn't want to have, was created by the same method we are going to use now to change your life. Your debts were created by a state of consciousness of scarcity sustained for years. Your loneliness was created by a state of consciousness of abandonment that you spent decades reinforcing. Your illness, in many cases, was sustained by a state of consciousness of unresolved sadness. You are a creator. You always were. You were just creating on the wrong side without realizing it, and today you turn the rudder of the boat. There is a scene in the life of Neville Goddard that few know in depth. He was in New York in the harsh winter, feeling an unbearable longing for Barbados, his homeland. He wanted to return, but he had no money, no visa, no ticket. A master of his, an Ethiopian Jew named Abdullah, looked into his eyes and said something that changed his life, and that can change yours. Neville, go to sleep tonight, as if you were already in Barbados. Feel the heat of the island's sun on your skin. Hear the sound of the waves hitting the sand. Smell the salty air coming through the window. Fall asleep being a man who is in Barbados. Neville did this, with persistence, night after night, without complaining, without checking, without setting a deadline. And in a few weeks, without having moved a muscle in the logical direction, the bridge of incidents was completed. A distant brother appeared, a ticket was paid for, a reason for travel arose. He embarked. He was in Barbados, not because he moved the world, because he moved his state. And the world, which is just the echo of the state, reorganized itself around him. Your Barbados is waiting for you. It could be peace inside your house, in that home where today there is only shouting and slamming doors. It could be money leaving the account without tightness. It could be the hug of that daughter who stopped talking to you 3 years ago. It could be the healing of that diagnosis that terrifies you in the early hours. It could be mature love, which will arrive when you stop looking outside desperately and start feeling already loved from within. Your Barbados is real. It exists in the 4th dimension. It is waiting only for you to occupy the state and fall asleep in it. And now, before we close this teaching, I need to deliver the final blow, the truth that will separate you forever from the person you were before opening this video. You are not the victim of your story. You are the author of it. You are not waiting for God to act from above. God is waiting for you to assume down here. You are not a beggar in the line of heaven. You are I am in human form, with the same creative signature that said, "Let there be light" on the first day. And the I am never failed to create that which it assumes to be true. Look how fascinating the way the ancient masters understood this. When Jesus said that phrase that crossed the centuries, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours," he was not talking about asking and waiting. He was revealing in a coded way for those who had ears to hear the secret of assumption. Believe that you have received it, in the past tense, in the state of already having, in the feeling of already having the desire in your hands. Not in the future, not in the it will arrive, in the absolute now. And those who understood this operated the so-called miracles of history. Those who didn't understand kept asking their whole lives without ever receiving, thinking it was a lack of faith, when in truth it was just a spiritual method error. How many times have you said without realizing it, phrases like, "I will make it," "One day I'll get there," "I hope it works out"? Each of these phrases puts your desire in the future, and the subconscious understands that it remains in the future, eternally postponed. The language of manifestation is different. It is, "I am prosperous," it is, "I am loved," it is, "I am healed," it is, "I am blessed," in the present, in the already. And when these phrases come loaded with true feeling, when they come out of the mouth with the conviction of someone who is describing a fact and not wishing for a fantasy, heaven bows. Start tonight. Before turning off the light, choose a single scene, just one, the scene that represents your desire already fulfilled. It can be 3 short seconds, it can be 10 vivid seconds, but let it be felt with the whole body. Let it have texture, smell, sound, heat, weight. Fall asleep inside it. Do this tomorrow. Do this the day after tomorrow. Do this for 7 consecutive nights without failing. And observe calmly. Observe the small signs. An unexpected call. A thought about you in the head of a person who disappeared years ago. An opportunity falling out of nowhere. An unexpected amount arriving through a path you didn't imagine. These are the bricks of the bridge of incidents being fitted. Do not despise any of them. Just continue occupying the state, night after night. And while your bridge is built in silence, keep your inner talking absolutely clean. Every time the old voice comes saying, "It won't work, this is nonsense," respond silently, "I am that which I have assumed, and it is done." Every time fear hits your chest like a dull blow, breathe deeply 3 times and say inwardly, "Feeling is the secret, and I choose to feel supported now." This is your new prayer. This is your new spiritual armor. This is the sword of Archangel Michael being handed to you now, so that you cut once and for all the invisible chains that bound you to a reality too small for your I am. The chains of, "I don't deserve it." The chains of, "It's too late for me." The chains of, "My family is just like that." All of this is a lie. All of this is old programming, and all of this can be dissolved starting from the next night you sleep occupying a new state. There is one last layer of this teaching that few have the courage to touch. The law of assumption operates by a principle that the ancients called preference of the imagination over facts. Your senses show you one world. Your imagination, when trained and sustained, shows you another. And what wins in the end is that which receives your deepest emotional loyalty. If you are loyal to the visible facts of scarcity, illness, abandonment, that is what perpetuates in your biography. If you are loyal to the internal image of the desire fulfilled, even against the evidence of the senses, it is this image that, little by little, pushes the visible facts until they yield and reorganize themselves into the form of the internal image. This is the war. This is the spiritual battle that Archangel Michael is here to help you win. The question is, to whom will you swear loyalty today? To the eyes of the flesh or to the eyes of the soul? And if you have reached this point, hearing every word, feeling your heart warm up, feeling a tear wanting to fall in the corner of your eye, it is because something inside you was touched in a way that will not turn back. You knew you needed to hear this today. You knew this meeting was scheduled since before you were born, and your next step needs to be taken today, not tomorrow, because tomorrow is the hiding place of dreams that die. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, How to Know If God Will Save You on Judgment Day, which deepens each of these techniques with practical nightly exercises, with assumption prayers in the first person, with the complete methodology of the 7 days of spiritual reprogramming. The link is pinned in the description below the video and also at the top of the comments for you to access immediately. Do not leave it for later. Those who leave it for later discover that later never arrives and that the enemy wins through the inertia of your hesitation. Click now, receive now, and then come back here and comment a single word. Decreed. This will be your decree of acceptance of the new reality that begins today. And if this video touched you, leave your like and subscribe to the channel, not as a common gesture, but as a spiritual signature that you are accepting the state of the person who has everything they have always desired. Imagine now what your life will be like 90 days from now if you apply all this with discipline and persistence. 90 days from now, you wake up in a bed where your breathing is light, without that tightness in your chest that you know so well today. You open the window, and the first thought that comes is not, "How am I going to pay for this?" or "What have I done with my life?" The first thought is a silent wave of gratitude, because something inside you knows that everything is in the right place. You walk around the house and notice that the atmosphere has changed. The people who live with you speak in a different tone. The phone rings bringing different news, opportunities, reconciliations, invitations. Money flows in paths that were not mapped. The body responds with more lightness. You look in the mirror and the face that stares back at you is no longer the tired face from before. There is light in your eyes. There is firmness in your jaw. There is peace on your forehead. This is not cheap fantasy. This is the measurable result of a person who changed their dominant state of consciousness and sustained persistence until reality yielded. And when you look back, a year, 2 years from now, and realize the gigantic distance between the person you were, on the night you open this video, and the person you have become, you will understand that the turning point was not an external event. It was not a lottery. It was not an inheritance. It was a silent decision, made in some bed, on some night, to occupy a new state and fall asleep inside it. This decision, repeated 7 nights, became a habit. This habit, sustained for 3 months, became an identity. This identity, embodied for a year, became destiny. And the destiny that seemed impossible became simply your normal, everyday life. Archangel Michael is standing by your side at this very second. The entire heaven is vibrating at the frequency of your silent decision. And the I Am inside you has just awakened from a sleep that lasted decades. You are no longer who you were when you started this video. Something broke in you, something lit up in you, and your job from now on is to protect this flame, feed it every night, occupy the state every early morning, and let the universe do the rest. You take care of the state. The universe takes care of the root. You take care of the feeling. The 4th dimension takes care of the characters, the settings, the scenes that need to happen. And from now on, when fear comes, remember this night. Remember this voice. Remember that the enemy mocks only those who are asleep, and you have just woken up. So be it. So it already is. Amen.